Now let's jump to the past. In past, we have past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. With past simple, of course, we talk about activities that happened in the past, that is started and finished in the past, right? This is a completed action in the past. And of course, we need to use the past, the past tense or the past form of the verb. For example, we danced all night long yesterday. Excellent, we danced all night long yesterday. But in negative options, we're going to use the auxiliary didn't. Like, I didn't go to Mary's party. I didn't go to Mary's party. So didn't is the auxiliary we use in negative options, and you can see we use the verb in base form. In the question, we're again going to use did. Yes, did you hear? Did you hear what she said? Yeah, and again the verb in base form. So this is simple past, right? An activity that started and finished in the past. What about past continuous? Well, past continuous, they were fighting again. Or, she wasn't crying because of you. Or the question, were they talking about her? Well, in this case, the past continuous talk about an activity that was in progress at a certain point in the past, at an exact point in the past. For example, they were fighting again at 7 o'clock yesterday, that exact moment. Or we can use the past continuous to talking about an activity that was in progress when something else happened. Like, they were fighting when their parents arrived. Yeah, so something happened, something interrupted. And of course, this is continuous tense, so we're going to use the verb be plus a verb in ing. And this is past continuous, right? So you need was or were. This is past of the verb be. They were fighting, I was fighting, you were fighting, my mom was fighting, etc. Now, what about the past perfect, guys? Well, the past perfect is easy peasy, really. We have some examples here. I left by the time they arrived, or, using the full form, I had left by the time they arrived, or the negative option, they hadn't arrived. Or had they called you before you left? Had they called you before you left? So we're going to use this past perfect to talk about an activity that happened before another past option, right? For example, I had left by the time they arrived. So can you see we have two activities here? I left and they arrived. What happened first? Well, definitely I had left. That was happened first, and then they arrived, right? So when I'm going further in the past, I can use this past perfect. And in past perfect, of course, we're going to use the auxiliary have, but in past. So it's I had or I hadn't. You had or you hadn't. And always, this is a perfect tense, guys. We need to use, of course, a verb in past participle. Yes. What about the past perfect continuous? Well, the past perfect continuous talks about an activity that had been in progress before another activity happened in the past. For example, we've been trying that before she called. Or they hadn't been talking to each other. Or why not? Had they been living with her before she moved to the US? So can you see, in each case, we have two activities. The first one is an activity that had been in progress before another option. So we've been trying, and then she called. Or, he had been living with her before she moved to the US. So we have two activities here. And this activity that was in progress before the other action, so it's in past perfect continuous. And again, well, here we use the auxiliary had or the negative option hadn't. Don't forget to use been. So I had been, you had been, we had been. And then it's a continuous tense. We need to use the ing. For example, I had been trying, you had been trying, she had been working, he had been working, etc. So easy busy, guys. We have seen now the full chart about the present tenses and the past tenses in positive, negative, and questions. Oh my God, that's a lot. But of course, I know now you perfectly understand this because it's just a review. So please take some notes, and why not add one example in each case. There you go. Thanks for watching.